Hi and welcome back to Jaureguiberry, your yoga for scoliosis community. So today I'm going to answer a question from the Facebook community, and thank you so much for asking your questions because it helps me to make really relevant videos for you. And this question was about which yoga poses should I avoid when I have scoliosis. So first of all, I do have a few thoughts on this. I have been teaching yoga for a while and I have been practicing yoga for 15 years and with scoliosis as well. So there have definitely been yoga poses that have been more challenging than others. But would I say that you should avoid them altogether? That is the question. So I would definitely say there are poses that you should be mindful with. And this is because, so this is considering that you don't have any other health conditions, you don't have any disc problems, you don't have any other sort of conditions, purely scoliosis. What you should be mindful of is that you don't just have a sideward curve, it also comes with a rotation. And with that rotation, there will be some compression of your discs in the spine. So as long as you can respect this and can respect your limitations, you will be absolutely fine. So one thing to remember is your body is very clever and it will tell you when something is not right. So pain is a very sure signal that you should not be doing this. And pain, I mean something sharp and localized. That means you need to do something about it. It doesn't mean you have to avoid it forever. It just means not right now, not in this way. If it's uncomfortable, if it's maybe unfamiliar or slightly aching, then that can be something that we can negotiate with. And I have found with my scoliosis certainly that I do come across those poses quite a lot that are just kind of uncomfortable, and my mind is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because I have scoliosis. So I don't disregard these poses completely. I just take it easy and I approach them in a mindful and I don't want to say cautious, but in a slightly more conservative way. Let's put it that way. But you obviously want to know specific poses that you should be avoiding. So the number one pose where I would say if you have a thoracic scoliosis, and especially if you have a curvature that is in the neck, I would stay away from unsupported headstands or headstands in general, where you put a lot of weight onto your head. Just because if you think about it, if you're turning yourself upside down, all the weight is now on the very vulnerable part of your spine, the neck. And if there is any sort of imbalance, that is not a very good idea. So same if you have kind of a C-curve scoliosis and there is a lot of imbalance, I would be very mindful with headstands. And the way to get around this, what I use is a feet up chair. And I do have another video on this where you can see what it looks like, but it just basically helps you to do a headstand but without putting any pressure on the head. So that is one pose that I would say you need to be very careful with. Any extreme back bends can be a problem. So what I'm thinking about, so what is extreme obviously means something else for each individual person. So for what is for me extreme might not be extreme for you, of course, and vice versa. But just generally, if you think of your back and you have a sideward curvature, you have a rotation, and then you take it into your back bend. What is that actually doing to your back? So what part of your back is compressing even more? So these are the sort of things, this is why it can be really helpful to work with a yoga teacher one-on-one. Even if you are a yoga teacher, it's helpful to have another teacher look at you to see what actually is happening. But most importantly, you need to be able to feel what's going on. So extreme back bends, even worse, are asymmetric back bends. For example, the one-legged king pigeon pose, which I cannot demonstrate because I cannot do it, but it looks something like this. You're in your pigeon pose, you bend your knee and then you bring your head back. So I'm not going any further than this because that is not very good for my back at all and it doesn't feel very good. So just be mindful, and if this feels good for you, then it doesn't mean that you should be doing this. So then also think about what is happening in your spine. Is there one side that is being compressed more than the other? Probably. So always ask yourself, what are you getting out of the pose? And what are the risks of the pose? So there's always a little bit of weighing up to do. So these are my thoughts on the extreme back bends. Other back bends, bow pose is another one. Camel pose, where you're on your knees and then you hold on to your feet. For some people, this is absolutely fine. For others, when you're already struggling to get into the pose, it's very difficult to find a good balance and to find that lovely length in the spine, which you need. And you need to be able to really understand your curvature and to know what you're working with, which is why I designed the 4 weeks course, the 4 weeks online course in the first place, because it really helps you to understand what is going on in your body and then help you to work with that. So these are my thoughts on back bends. Other poses to be mindful of are twists. So there are some seated twists, and again I'm talking about extreme twists. It doesn't mean any twisting is not a good idea. If you have spinal fusion, obviously this is a whole other topic. So there are a lot more things to be mindful of. Seated twists, for example, bringing the right foot in and then the left leg over, bringing the right arm over to the outside. Now, if you have a right thoracic curve, this is completely going into your curve. You're giving into your curve, and it's not a particularly good idea. So this is just one example of the poses that, yes, of course you can be doing them, but they are not very productive for you. If you have spinal fusion, this is a completely different kettle of fish, and then we need to approach it with a lot more caution. But this is considering that you don't have any sort of spinal fusion. So I hope you found this useful. In general, I would say make sure that you enjoy your practice. That is the most important thing. Anything is possible if you want to do it, if you do it with awareness, with respecting your scoliosis, your body, then you can absolutely do it. There are some poses to be mindful of. Headstands are one of them. Any extreme poses, twists or back bends can be a problem. But otherwise, I would really say give yoga a go if you haven't done so already. There are so many yoga poses to choose from, and I'm sure you will really start to enjoy and love your practice. So I hope this was useful to you, and I see you very soon for the next video.